My name is NonStopAntonio, and today we're going to be talking about Superman and Lois Season 3, Episode 5. They really set up this episode that Bruno Mannheim was going to be hunting down Lois Lane. However, that wasn't the case. This episode felt a little slower than the other ones, and it also was not my favorite, but I still enjoyed moments from it, of course, because it's still written amazingly. And in this video, we will be reviewing it, breaking it down, and then breaking down that ending. Because goddamn, that was a big shocker, which was also my highlight from the episode. So let's jump into my breakdown for Superman and Lois, Episode 5. Welcome to NonStopAntonio, where I talk about everything nerdy. I love Marvel, DC, and anime, and if you do too, I hope you enjoy this video. Like I said, this episode wasn't my favorite, only because not a lot happened, but it doesn't mean that it wasn't good in any way, because this episode was still written really well, especially when we dealt with Lois Lane and even Lana Lang's characters. Even though most of the episode didn't hit for me, it still pushed the story along for all our characters. No, they actually was able to do that rather than The Flash, who just has filler episodes that don't do anything for the story. At least everything in this episode for Superman and Lois pushed the story along. I like what it set up for Lois Lane and how her going to chemo is going to be really affecting her going forward. How she's not going to have the strength, the energy, or really the motivation to do what she loves to do. And it's going to be interesting to see how that takes a toll on her and the family, because I feel like she's going to continue to push herself until she's at the brink of exhaustion. And I also really like how they showed Lana Lang's humanity in this. There were still moments in it that really pissed me off, like how she got mad at Sarah for drinking, even though Sarah literally had one sip at the dance, and it was all just to support Junior, who was devastated after his father died. And Lana annoyed the shit out of me there. However, it showed her humanity this episode when she decided not to reveal all the dirty secrets that George Dean had, just so that his image stays the same for his son and the town, rather than tarnishing his name, because it doesn't really matter anymore now that he's gone. But let's dive into the storylines, because the first one I want to talk about is Lois and Clark going to her chemo at Hobbs Bay Medical, which is Bruno Mannheim's medical center that's in Hobbs Bay. And in the comics, Hobbs Bay is part of the suicide slums, which it looks like it is in this as well, because Bruno Mannheim is protecting it, and it is his facility with state-of-the-art equipment to help who he can help. And the thing is, Bruno Mannheim in this episode didn't seem all evil. Like, he still did some pretty evil shit during it. However, when he's talking to Lois while she's investigating him in his medical center, he says that he's trying to help people. He's trying to help the community. When he was a kid, his mom got sick because they were living next to a chemical wasteland that no one told the neighborhood about. So showing that no one's ever there for the suicide slums, no one's ever there to protect them, so Bruno made himself into the man that can protect his community. And that's pretty much his whole idea, is that he wants to protect the suicide slums, he wants to help the people in the community. So he doesn't seem entirely evil, where he might do bad things for good reason, where he's going about doing things the wrong way because he thinks it's the only way to help the people around him. Which I think is going to play out interesting, especially when he told Lois that he'd do anything to help her and heal her. However, if she gets in his way, he's not going to do that, and he's going to let her die. So showing that he's not that bad at heart, but if you get in his way, all hell will rain down on you. And during that whole section too, I really liked seeing Clark's perspective, how he was talking to other patients about their chemo, and how they were telling him about their experiences, really striking that fear into Clark Kent, that his wife is going to have to go through a very traumatic experience, and how she's going to have to deal with her chemo. Because Lois puts all her energy into her reporting and investigating, that she's not going to be able to do that anymore. She has to save that energy for chemo and fighting cancer, or she's going to end up getting herself killed, because she's not going to have the energy to fight it, and it's just going to overcome her, which I think is going to set up a very emotional moment for those characters as the season progresses. And on top of it, it kind of showed it near the end, where Lois had no energy to go to the dance with her sons because she had spent all the energy investigating Bruno Mannheim at the facility. And I really did like how Clark tried to cheer her up at the end, because she never got to see her boys dancing and having fun. So Clark pushes the table out of the way and dances with his wife, and Jordan dances with his mom after, just to have the nice family moment. Which is what I think the show does really well, is give us those nice family moments and showing them being the Kent family. Now let's jump back into the Lana Lang stuff. Like I said, this episode showed her humanity, because she could have ruined George's image, but she chose not to. And the one thing I thought from the beginning of the episode, before we got to all that revelation, was when Junior confronted her and Sarah at the diner. I totally thought that Junior was gonna do something. Like, I did not expect anything good coming from that. He looked like he was snapping, he lost his father, and he was mad, thinking that Lana was just trying to forget about his father, not show all the good he's done, because I mean, he's done a lot of bad, so that's why she wasn't showing anything. And then he turned around and said that she cheated to win, which I feel like is something that George pushed into his son to be like, yeah, the only reason Lana won is because she cheated. You know, kind of brainwash his kid to thinking Lana Lang is the enemy. So I totally thought something bad was gonna happen there, especially when he stormed off at the dance. I thought he was about to go do something really bad. And luckily that never happened, and Sarah kind of had a good moment with him, reconnecting with her old friend. And if Lana did end up posting all the stuff about George and the bad shit he's done, I totally feel like Junior would have went after Lana and did something criminally, because he would have been so pissed off that Lana ruined the image of his father. But I feel like that's also setting up something in the future, so we'll see what goes down there, because I don't think we're done with that story yet. Now let's jump into the dance story, which I think was the weakest plot of the episode. However, some stuff revolving around it is somewhat interesting. Like, they just kind of got rid of Candace. They're sending her off to live with her aunt now because she doesn't always live at the Kent's house, and adding a little conflict with her and Jonathan, because Jonathan's going to take up a job with Kyle, and he won't be able to do that if he's going on the weekends to see Candace, but she tells him to do it anyways because they can figure it out, which they love each other, they want to be happy, but I feel like this is an unnecessary problem that they're throwing into the show. And then Kyle and Chrissy have another moment, and Kyle starts dancing to get the party started, and that felt like a typical TV trope where no one's dancing, and then you got like the cool guy coming in, starting a dance party, and all of a sudden everyone wants to start dancing. I don't know, it just felt off to me, and I wasn't a huge fan of it. Then all the Mateo stuff gives me a lot of sus vibes. Like, I do not trust it whatsoever. Mateo coming to Smallville to see Natalie is kind of weird. Honestly, he barely met this girl. I mean, they had a good conversation. I guess they connected during the party, and Sarah got him to come to town. But him going out and buying a suit so he could go to their dance was really weird, especially for someone who just met this girl. And then he tries to kiss her, which I figured he had ulterior motives. But, like, Sam doesn't trust him, and I'm on Sam's side. I don't trust him at all, so I feel like something else is going on. Part of me feels like Bruno Mannheim knows Mateo. Maybe it's Bruno Mannheim's son. Maybe it's another character that's related to him, and he's sending in Mateo to kind of rope Natalie in and have his hooks in her. So if John Henry Irons tries to do anything, he can keep him at bay and be like, I have your daughter here. Do not try anything with me or she's dead. And I think that's something where it'll go. I am interested to seeing if I'm right or if I'm completely wrong and it's just another relationship they're trying to throw in the show. What do you think about it? Let me know down in the comments. Now let's talk about the assault on the DOD as well as that ending because they both go together. Now Bruno Mannheim injects DeStefano with the serum, and at first I thought it was giving him powers, but it's just keeping him alive because the suit is what really gave him powers. We find out from Sam that this character's name is also Deadline, but in the comics he has intangibility powers, which is what the suit seems to give him, because the only reason he stops being intangible is because the suit seems to spark. He also has superhuman durability, reflexes, stamina, and healing, and then uses a bunch of weapons and gadgets to fight, kind of like the Kryptonite Blade. And in the comics books, Deadline is an assassin that works with the Society, and the Society is a secret society of supervillains that was organized by the Outsider to serve as an army for the crime syndicate. So the Outsider and the crime syndicate are from Earth 3. The Outsider is Alfred Pennyworth of that Earth, and then the crime syndicate is like the evil version of the Justice League, who were introduced during the New 52. And then after the Injustice League dealt with the crime syndicate, Vandal Savage took over. And Deadline in the show has the same comic book accurate costume, which I think is pretty cool. You know, at least they give people comic book accurate costumes. I like when they do that because it's just like a nice nod to the source material. And when Superman fights him and he was stealing secrets from the DOD, I was just wondering why Superman wasn't just taking the device off the server there, because he was fighting him and having an issue because he kept phasing in and out. But I was like, why isn't Superman just taking the device off? He could quickly do it and could continue fighting, but he doesn't, which was a little weird to me. And I felt like that was just a plot hole they just left and ignored. However, it was interesting to see that he had a kryptonite blade that he was fighting Superman with, kind of giving him the upper edge, showing us that they're going to have villains have kryptonite to fight with so that they can stand a chance with Superman. Otherwise, they most likely normally wouldn't because they're just regular humans. But it turns out that the whole reason that they were there is that Deadline was a distraction so the Intergang could rob the DOD, and they stole BIZZARO because they still have his body, which does make sense because the DOD would want BIZZARO's body to do experiments on him because he is the opposite of Superman. They could probably find out something that they could use to take down other Kryptonians who are just as strong so that they don't run into an issue with an evil Superman flying around and they can't stop them. I'm interested to seeing what happens with Superman because once he finds out, I feel like he's going to be pissed. Like, I mean, it makes sense that the DOD took the body of BIZZARO. However, I totally thought something else happened with it. Maybe it got destroyed or got left at the Fortress of Solitude or something along the lines there. I didn't realize the DOD took it. And it looks like Bruno Mannheim is going to be reviving BIZZARO using the drug he's made. And I'm interested to seeing what happens now because I totally didn't expect that. And it was something that just added an interesting plot point to the story. And really, that was my highlight, seeing that BIZZARO's back. So what do you think they're going to be doing with BIZZARO? Do you think they're going to revive him? Or do you think they're going to clone him? Or are they going to do something else? Because I am interested in seeing other people's theories, because I think it'll be pretty cool. And also, what did you think of this week's episode of Superman and Lois? Did you find it a bit off? Did you really enjoy it? Let me know. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown. Leave a like, hit the subscribe button. It helps out the channel a lot. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.